Did I miss something?
Right here.
This is to formally advise that as required by the
MGL, Mass General Law.
MGL,
Mass General-
Chapter 30A, subsection 18 to 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and Act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16th, 2020, as extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, the Yarmouth Community and Economic Development Committee will hold a public meeting on Tuesday, July 25th at 4 p.m. The Town Hall Hearing Room, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth. The public is welcome to attend either in person or via the alternative public access provided on the notice of the meeting available on the town Yarmouth website.
Okay, as amended though, we're gonna change that, right?
Yes.
Only with the time of day.
September 19th,
That-
Night for the first-
It's gotta be
2023.
everywhere, and it's all gonna match.
So stupid.
Thanks, Danielle. Thank you.
Good job. You must be a teacher.
Okay, so meeting's called to order.
Roll call. Calling roll call.
Yes, roll call.
Fine. Maria Marasco, present.
Danielle Newcomb, present.
Courtney Butler, present.
Joseph Manning, present.
Steve O'Neill, present. Okay,
Members of the public present
we have Tom Nicanello, right?
and Mary Vilma.
Mary, I'm sorry, I just took. She's
You're
a-
one of us.
Granted. That's why I paused before I was waiting for you to say your
That
name.
Mary.
Staff that's
Thanks,
present
Maria.
is Karen, Free corner.
Okay, so from our last meeting, we had quite a discussion on process and procedures and whatnot on the applications that we received. We have 9 applications, I believe.
That's
So this meeting, we thought we did ask of Mary that she would meet with her staff and Karen to discuss the application, to give us the chamber's input on that. Before doing that, though, we thought what we do is just go over a couple of things, what the legislation calls out for, what we can and cannot do with the dollars that we receive. So we start off with that. Karen, I'll turn that over to you.
So you wanted to start it with the special legislation?
Yes, the special legislation, just for the new folks too.
Joe, do you have the,
I put the
Question?
C- Yeah, no, that's great.
is that better?
It's fantastic.
All right. So this is, and let me share the screen. Hold on one second. Windows.
Oh, I switched on.
I'm just sharing the screen.
Yeah.
So we have the screen shared and what you're looking at is the special legislation. This is the original legislation. Not the First Amendment, not the Second Amendment, but this is where the purpose lives of the funding. And so section 4, let me see if I can move this out of the way. Section 4 calls out the purposes of funding. So amount of money to be appropriated for programs and projects that enhance the beautification, recreational resources, promotional and marketing activities, events, services, and public improvements, which are of clear mutual interest to residents and visitors of the town of Yarmouth, and which strengthen the town as an attractive center for tourism and related purposes. Physical or public improvements are further detailed at the very end of this paragraph. But other than that, that's about kind of it for specificity.
Okay, but then the next step is that the
Well, it's-
specificity is events. And this bucket of money that we're talking about today is for events,
So.
correct?
That's correct.
Yes,
Okay, I just want to be clear. We're talking about special events,
Yep.
or are we, or is it broader than that?
So
What is this committee actually established? Is it special events or events? I think there's a distinction.
yeah. So
What,
not so good at this.
Steve, can I interject?
yes,
Well, I think you just read that, which is the parameter for the entire community function.
Yep.
What we're talking about today is that $140,000 bucket that we established for tourism.
Yes, I thought I just asked that.
What
That's-
Steve asked Mary and I to do kind of as
I
preamble
agree with Maria.
was just, this is what we're looking at here. So then the next, we have the special legislation, and then what did we ask for?
Yeah.
We asked for what was in the RFP.
Right.
So we have the RFP here.
Right.
The special event grant program is designed to encourage establishment of new events or expand existing events. Promote the community as a desirable place to live, work, or visit. Increase visitors and promote and enhance tourism during the off or shoulder season.
With an emphasis on encouraging events. So I don't mean to belabor this, but it really is, I've been here a year and nothing was like handed to me other than here's a lot of stuff. I've worked in state government since 1987. And I kind of live by regulations and program guidelines, and I'm just really want to drill down. Does this committee have, other than the RFP, something that defines events, other than the title, special event program? The answer is no, that's fine. That's why we're all here today, I think, right? We'd like to drill down a little bit before we start giving away
Right.
a lot of money. Or I don't mean to put words in your mouth. That's where I'm coming from today.
Right.
So I don't want to belabor it, but I want to have a firm starting point.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I think the goal today was, especially for the new folks, was just to go over the legislation, what the special legislation, what that allows us to do. And off of that, take the RFP that we sent out by the town to everyone. And look at the RFP, what we called out in the RFP, and then have a discussion on that. And then after that, we want to use with Mary's input. And after that, we want to be able to use something to measure up applications again, right? So what we've used in the past was that format that calls out for highly advantageous, right? And that allows us to differentiate between the different applications. Do they meet these criteria or do they not? And then we put a score beside that. That's what we've been doing as far as I've been here, as long as I've been here, I should say.
okay, my fundamental problem is the beginning. Okay,
I'm not sure I understand, but go ahead.
well, because the applicant. Okay. Are we approving something that attracts people, or are we approving an event? Are we giving money for somebody's marketing plan for, yeah, they'll come up with something, or is it a special event? Is it something that happens year after year after year and therefore is no longer special? I mean, I'd like to hear from everybody else. I mean, what do you think we're voting on? I think we're voting on a special event.
I don't think we're voting on anything today.
No, not, okay. I think we're talking about a special event. Oh,
Isn't that the
As a-
title?
great, this is great. Because if you see the application itself has left the door open for, we want to do a lot of things. And we think we want to do something. So,
Did we now establish the meeting where we decided how to conduct ourselves this fall? You were not at? And we established that meeting that was on the the downstairs room. Maria was absent when we made these decisions about how we were gonna conduct ourselves this fall. Correct?
I believe so.
so.
So I think if I can just interject a little
Please.
bit, I don't know if it'll help or not. I think that your question is, there's kind of two steps here. Because one, we have at the meeting Joe's talking about, it was held downstairs in the hearing room. The committee decided to move forward with the $140,000, make that all available, do the whole calendar year at once. And use the time in between this and the next cycle to really get into some of the things, the big questions that you're asking, Maria, very targeted spending purposes, because the program as it stands is pretty general and open for a variety of responses. In terms of identifying, answering your questions. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to have new events? Or, I don't know what some of your other points were, new events. or-
Programming.
Or new programming or marketing or what? I think that those are perhaps questions for the next phase.
Okay, well then I'm gonna abstain from any votes. Because I don't see that that's exactly what the RFP says. I am uncomfortable giving away money that says it's a special event and we don't eliminate those applications that aren't special events. Actually, I'm gonna retract that.
We're not voting today for anything.
No, but what, okay, so you
I'm-
keep saying you voted for something when I wasn't here. I sat with Joe and I worked my tail off trying to come up with a program and then it's like, yeah, well, never mind, thanks. I'm a little upset about that. So I'm actually a lot upset about it, so. And again, I've been a government employee for almost 30 years. I follow the rules. And I'm not quite sure that there are rules here that I am comfortable with. Perhaps you guys can convince me otherwise.
I can't convince you because I'm not sure where you're going. I know you guys met, you and Joe met. And you came up with an idea for basically two parts. You wanted to put one funding program up first, right? And then another one later on. We decided that we couldn't do that this year. We'd probably tackle it next year. So there were two parts, giving out money in the spring.
Three
and
parts.
The 3 parts, okay.
First part was trying to define exactly what this money was best intended for.
Right.
Just don't know.
That's where I say I'm not understanding what you're saying because the money that we're going to hand out eventually is going to fall under the guidelines of the legislation, special legislation. And the RFP follows the guidelines of the special legislation. And the way we measure and differentiate and ultimately decide on the applications is decided upon by that system that
So,
we use to
okay,
rate the
so you're
application.
saying that this bucket of money is for special events. Tied to the legislation that says it's for events.
Yes,
Okay. Okay,
right. Is that at odds with what you're,
I'm gonna wait to see
okay.
how this,
Are you, let me see if I can come at it another way. You talking about the 4 buckets that we went to town with? Okay,
that maybe some things are best focused in another bucket. I think that is
oh, all
what
right.
I'm
Why don't you just say that?
suggesting.
So we had the 4 buckets are economic development,
It was economic development, special events, public improvements. Marketing, thank you. That's a big one. And personnel.
Thank you.
so we've got the public improvements piece, right? We sent out applications, people responded, we decided on of the applications we got, we guess we funded 2 of them.
So when I wasn't here, you all said that we're gonna move ahead on special events. Money in the bucket for special events. And give it all away. Now,
I don't think we have to give anything. I don't think we have to give any of it away for
you-
say.
Joe is correct. So there's you don't have to spend all the money. It's just that's the appropriation. That's how much is available. It's up to you guys how much you want to disperse.
We didn't disperse all the money for physical improvements, if you remember.
no,
Right.
don't.
So- All right, so are we back on the same boat here or we still
No, I
wobbling
don't know
around?
yet, Steve.
Okay,
This has been,
all right,
guess I can't miss any more meetings.
all right. So these are the criteria that we use and I'll let Karen go
Yeah,
into more
it's just-
detail about.
Yeah, so I mean, and it's getting to the end before we get to the middle, because at the last meeting, we talked about what kinds of things do we want to what kind of information do we want to gather from the individual applications so that we can compare one against the other. Mary and Jen over at the chamber have done a bunch of work. I met with them a couple times and it's part of, Maria, I don't know if you, or Joe, if you guys grab one of those. We're gonna get to the second page on that. But I think that in terms of thinking about the events, we've put together a list of questions that you might want to ask of the event sponsors, things you might want to think about. But at the end of the day, those things on that list are to inform this rating criteria on the screen, because this is what was included in the RFP. But I think does that explain it, Steve?
Yeah,
Well enough?
just want to make sure everyone that's new on here understands how we,
Does it make sense? So when we, the town, when we go to buy something, we have to ask for kind of apples and apples. And then we have to tell the public, how are we gonna decide which things to buy? This is an RFP, so it's kind of got two parts, and we get to look at the whole thing rather than like a bid, where we just say, we want to buy a bridge, this is what kind of bridge we want, and how much is it gonna cost us? So you guys are supposed to determine which proposals are most highly advantageous for the town. So should I go to the spreadsheet, Steve?
does anyone has any questions? Good, all right, yeah.
Stop.
So at the last meeting, we asked, the group asked, we're gonna follow what we usually follow in the past, and that is to ask the chamber for their input, its input. And so Mary and Jen met first, and then Mary met with Aaron. come up
Can,
with some-
can we get lights? Is there a reason why you don't have them on?
You can turn them on if you want. We just.
No, they're right in back. Happy to try them
I
on.
just have, like to be able to see.
Other one, Joe,
Yeah, that one.
the black one there.
Thank you. Now I can
No,
see
I
what
need
I'm reading.
sunglasses.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm gonna try to make this a little bit smaller, but this is.
Half would be perfect.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God.
You know, we end up taking out half of the lights that are up there to make it.
all right.
Sneak in here later and take a couple bulbs out, all right,
No climbing on the table.
you bring the ladder.
So I don't know, Mary, would you like to kind of take the reins?
So just for a little background, for Courtney and Danielle, so this is my 8th year going through this process. And it's nice to be on the other side of the table. But one of the things that Jen and I decided to do is we read every single application in great detail. And we compare it to the RFP. And things that we've noticed in the past is that some applications are very vague. They don't answer the questions. Their budgets don't align with the narrative. The marketing plan doesn't align with the budgets. You know, the list can go on and on. And so what we try to do for this process is break it down for you so that you could look at the RFP and say, okay, is there a detailed event description? Do you actually understand, other than I've been to the Seaside Festival 30 times, right? You know what it looks like, but is it detailed description? Because, you know, people are requesting public money. So that application should be complete and as detailed as possible. And then we try to put in the key elements in the RFP. Did they answer these questions? So that you guys can, if anyone from the public says, who's the target audience for the parade or whatever event it may be, Seaside Festival, you know that. How do they track their attendance? Does it bring visitors or does it enhance the community character? And one of the examples I used for Steve and Karen this afternoon was when the chamber used to do the annual cleanup day, right? It started out with maybe 50 people, then we got up to 150 plus people. But the whole idea for the event was building pride in Yarmouth, right? That was the goal, and it did. And now the event,
Takes off by itself.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? So though it's an investment into event that hopefully will, in my eyes, and you guys can determine this, is hopefully sustainable. Maybe an event will never be sustainable, but you know, I would think you'd want it to grow to get that way. And then we did the same thing under event logistics. We started to think about what are the things, the criteria that we set for them, right? We always promote Yarmouth as a family-friendly destination. Is it on the off-season? Do the event coordinators, do they have event experience, right? Because you've got a couple of new events this year. You know, you're making an investment. So, and then Karen, if you can just scroll down, you know, we just thought of other facets under event logistics, and you may want to edit some of these. You know, have they thought about that if they're going to get an entertainment license, have they thought about and built into the budget, you know, the notice to the abutters for the permitting, the insurance, you know, all those details that need to be thought about. And then in the RFP is a separate sheet for having a marketing plan outlined, articulated. How are they spending the money? How are they marketing the event, especially if they're enhancing and trying to bring visitors, right? This is heads and beds. So thinking about those types of things, and then the financial piece, which is huge. Is the event sustainable? Does the budget match? Again, the narrative. I thought some of these applications were very interesting, where if you look at the prior year and net profit or loss, and then the new year's revenue, incoming reserves, some of them don't balance. Why, you know, that might be a really pertinent question to ask the event coordinator. You know, what did you do with your net profit? You know, maybe they made an investment in equipment for the next year, right?
Right.
It would be good to know those types of things. So really keeping a keen eye on these types of things that sometimes can get quickly overlooked. Are they thinking about every possible way to generate revenue? Right? You know, are they taking advantage of sponsorships, parking, you know, entrance fees if they can? And again, if it's within their capacity, right? They may not have enough volunteers to be able to have an entrance fee, or they may be in a space that doesn't have an entry gate, like Seaside Festival, right? It's almost impossible for that event to have an
Multiple
entrance fee
entries.
because it's such a big space.
On that issue, on that topic. What's been your collective past in terms of sponsorships and raising money outside? Has the town or the chamber has it encouraged during this process that events should be looking to raise some additional dollars if they can, where they can? Yeah,
I think it's always been encouraged.
okay,
Encouraged, not necessarily required.
yeah,
So.
You know, I was just working with another annual event in town that never applies for this funding. And they were thinking about how do we raise additional funds, you know, and I said sponsors, and they're like, you think we could really get them? And I'm like, yeah, they bring 2,000 people a year to town. Yeah, you could get some sponsors, right? So those are opportunities, and those are questions that if somebody's not comfortable, they could ask the chamber, how do you go about doing that?
right,
And I'd be more than happy to share that with them. And who would be possible sponsors, depending on what the event looks like,
Right.
right?
right.
So that, you know, the chamber's always here to help any one of these event organizers, and we always try to reach out to them. Most of them we work with already. So, and then we thought, we had dropped some additional questions here. You know, and again, this first one should be answered in the RFP. What's the economic impact, and, you know, is it measurable? Can you measure it? And how do you measure it? How do you track the attendance? I thought it was interesting, you know, if they ask for, let's say they're asking for 10,000 and you only give them 5, how will they, you know, manage that in their event? Will they have to delete a portion of the event, or some of them are already coming out with a net profit, so they may just change their marketing plan, right? But you'd want to know that ahead of time. So these are just our thoughts in particular. If anyone wants us to share our comments individually on the events, I'm happy to do that, but probably not in this setting, just because there's a lot of details that we worked through. So if anyone's interested, they could certainly reach out to Jen or I, and we're more than happy to share our comments. But we thought this might be, it was helpful for us And I, you know,
Did you compile that in any formal way?
for our
You
survey,
just described, yeah.
no, to be honest with you, this took us like the last week we started it, and I think I finalized it last night and then shared it with Karen, and then she made some edits.
But you said you have
Yeah.
thoughts on each. of the
Application,
applicants?
the application.
Yeah,
You came to a decision, you and Jen, on applications, yes, no?
just individually.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, if somebody wants to hear my comments, I'm more than happy to share with you.
And against this backdrop, what were the overall quality of the applications? Up, down, indifferent?
Historic.
I think there was one that I think was complete. But still raised a lot of questions.
Okay.
Just I would ask, if I interviewed them, I would ask them questions.
Did you, on here, can you go back up? I can look here.
Where do you wanna go to, Maria?
I'm really not quite sure. I can just ask. Okay, so the marketing plan, shouldn't we be looking at this marketing plan being cohesive and or compatible with our overall marketing plan? Does it fit the Yarmouth brand, whatever the heck that is?
Which is, you've got some of the components in here, that it's family friendly, that it's on the off
Okay,
season.
so you broke it out.
Yeah,
Well, family friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay.
yeah, and the other thing is, so these event organizers are encouraged to work with the chamber, but they're not mandated to work with the chamber. So,
Well, I would like to see, obviously, next year, or moving forward. That we're not tackling these events individual, but we are looking towards, okay, so okay, I'm gonna concede that somehow it's gonna be a special event. But how does it, you give away marketing dollars to anybody, but is it compatible with what all the funds that we're investing otherwise? Is it compatible with our overall marketing vision? Is it using the word Yarmouth anywhere other than, the tagline we say, please use this in your marketing materials. I went on one website, what we get, and thank you, Preservation Fund, Yarmouth Preservation Fund, that's it. The other logos are like this. I don't mean to be a pain in the neck here, actually, but I mean to be on a probe and saying, okay, is this an opportunity to link everything together, get economies of scale, make things start looking like it's cohesive? And yet we have got the chamber, on which I'm so grateful to Mary and Jen for using their expertise and coming up with something that's making me very happy. This is getting very close to guidelines. So thank you so much. And putting it all together, which I listened to all your comments before, and that's really what we're all trying to do.
Right.
Link everything together.
Right. That's what we always try to see if something ties back. And you mentioned the open space and rec plan. Some of the physical improvement dollars that we handed out, we kept asking that question. What does it tie back to? Does it tie back to something that?
But at least within our own buckets of money that we're giving out. If we're relying upon somebody as that marketing plan, then why are we? I'm gonna throw this out there, not for today's discussion, but wouldn't we be better served pulling out more money for marketing and saying, you want a special event? You gotta use our marketing plan. Right?
So Provincetown does that. They have a special, they have the two applications, events and then off-season, shoulder season marketing funds that they specifically give to people to market their events in the off-season. So it's another take on, I think, what you're saying and how to fit that in. They don't pay for their events, they don't pay for anything else. It's to help these people market, to get people to P-Town and the Outer Cape in the off-seasons.
Yeah, and to my best of my knowledge, and I don't know if and this was into this a while ago, they have an outline saying,
yeah.
looks like this, feels like this. Okay, this is wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. This is very helpful.
Her and Jen went through the application, so if you have any questions before or during when you're doing the application review, give you a call, or Jen?
Yeah, absolutely.
So were all these questions answered in the current submittals, or do we need to ask more of these questions of the people?
So I think that's what the questions on the bottom from my standpoint, and
Other questions?
yeah, and you might want to add some more in your conversation today, but those were ones that I think you might want to expand the answers on or get additional information on.
I have a question. Are we accepting applications from profit and nonprofits?
Yes.
Okay. That's always been,
It's always been. It's a question.
So that might be a
Moving
good
forward.
thing to put on, if you scroll.
Where you
I think it's in the profit, it's under
think it's up
finance.
top.
No, it's under finance.
It's some.
We
Profit
did put
versus
it there?
not-profit.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in there. We already have it.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Maria.
a little bit, Joe and I were going back and forth about this but sustainability, sustainable.
Mhm.
Is there something beneath that you know of that you can help us with? Because, you know, we face, I mean, how long is the
100%.
funding is gonna go sustainable? And like at 1 year, a lot of towns applications, they say, we'll fund you this, and then it's diminishing. You're just gonna get lower and lower, and
Mhm.
that's your incentive to
She-
get more and more.
She's already,
So she's smiling.
she's smiling because
Do
she
you,
does,
is there things in the industry that help refine that definition more?
Not that I'm good, I can speak to
So
right
you're,
now.
you're asking, how do you define, how are we going to define it, whether it's sustainable?
Well, I think you can tell that just by their budgets. If you look at prior year budgets, and then the other thing, you know, sustainable is one thing on, because you have it under finances. But sustainable is also capacity,
Mhm.
right? If
And
you,
market demand.
if you don't have the
Mhm.
volunteers or, you know, and so that was another thing to look for in your application where some
Oh,
people answered it
point.
very clearly. Like, what's the management? Who's your team? How long have they been with you? Like, if you
Yeah.
look at the Seaside Festival, and I didn't mean to speak specific to an application, but you know, she outlines the people's names, how many years they've been involved, right?
And their responsibilities.
Exactly. So, and that's a question in the RFP, right? So they went and shared that detail. So sustainability is not just finances.
Right.
It's,
we used,
But it is for the repeat events too. Usually they should have prior year information. And they will show you there, whether there's a profit, you know, a net profit or a net loss on the event. And so the question is, what are you doing with that funds? So if you're carrying forward a balance, how much of that are you holding at bay, and how much are you willing to use
right.
to continue the event?
My question is, at what point do you stop funding something that was
I was just gonna ask that.
It's a great,
intended to,
So,
or maybe the answer is you don't. I
Well-
mean, or you say, well, it depends. And if it depends, it can't just be what you and I feel like this week. And then 5 years from now, somebody else changes their mind and throws the whole game off, right?
right, so under sustainability, maybe we can make a distinction, just to throw it out for thought, and that is, I think we're on the same page. And we did, as a group, talk about this a few years ago, is it our job to keep handing money out to programs that at some point should be able to be sustained on their own? We gave them a leg to stand on, so with an expectation that they would be able to go and stand on their own at some point, so we could look at other events that we might want to fund in town. So do we want to make that distinction in sustainability? You know, sustainability could be, oh yeah, this can sustain itself going forward with our dollars. Or do we want to look at, or do we want to look at it as it can go forward without our dollars as well? So,
So I think you guys voted just to raise that, but you've decided that you're not gonna define it for this cycle.
for this cycle, yeah,
So,
yes. Joe, I know you had a. It's Joe.
Oh, thanks. I'm a little confused. My expectations about tonight specifically were that we were gonna come and have the benefit of Mary's, the work that she's already just described that she's done. And go through the 9 applicants that we have and decide if they do or do not in some way, shape or form meet this, and then compile a list of questions that we want to ask those 9 applicants for before our next meeting, or before they come in to come with the answers to the questions that we have. And if we have no questions for them, maybe it precludes them from having to appear for an interview. I envision a scenario where Karen copies that sheet 9 times
Yep.
and we go through it,
Mhm.
each applicant one by one at the end of it. Well, during it, Mary's imparting her wisdom and her evaluations as we go, and we come out of it with a list of questions to have Karen disseminate to the applicants. Am I
Yeah,
mistaken in
I, well,
those
I,
expectations?
I'll try and speak and you can jump in. I think it was felt that the chamber didn't want to, how shall I say this? Well,
They
Have
can
too
ask- they can
big of
ask
an input.
questions.
they don't want to steer the ship at all. They want to just throw it out there and generally and let us steer the ship if you will.
No, I'm not suggesting that Mary make any decisions at all, but she's a valuable resource that
Mhm.
already been stipulated to, so.
Mhm.
I just didn't think we were here to overhaul the program tonight. I know we all want to overhaul this program, but I didn't think we were here tonight to do that because we thought that we only had time to move the date up for this round. Because we didn't have time to do the kind of work that we're all talking about right now, to overhaul this program, to put a metric to it, to put sunsets, put sustainability definitions in place, to do all the stuff that Joe and Maria probably have already done.
Mhm.
I just thought it was very specific tonight, the 9 applicants.
Mhm.
Well,
But I did want to define, what are we voting on? An events or programming? They two different things.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I don't know if that alters what you think we were gonna.
Yeah, I don't know what that distinction is really for this.
Well, when we get in,
Conversation, because we weren't gonna be voting on anything tonight. We're gonna be.
not voting, considering some, we won't even have to dig deep. So it's, okay, fair enough.
But I think changing the playing field after they've already submitted their applications is.
No, you can't.
not
no,
fair.
no.
You
no.
can't.
Right.
And that's why I think this list of items is meant to kind of help your thought process
Right,
as you review the
sure.
applications. And then we use the criteria in the RFP.
And it's more comprehensive than I was even anticipating for the purposes of tonight. But
Mary, do you feel comfortable without giving a recommendation and taking those applications and just kind of going through the process here? or-
Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone has read the applications in
wanna-
detail. Like if they haven't, then I don't think it's a fair process to go through.
I think we have, because I was under the same assumption, Joe, that we were
Me
coming here
too.
tonight to discuss with Mary her feedback on what she thought. So that we could all go back and consider what she thought and our own thoughts, and then that way, when we left here tonight, we had the list of who we wanted to invite back or questions we had. For the next meeting. Isn't that why we picked 2 meeting dates last meeting? So we knew when we were gonna come back.
Okay,
Do you want to go through the applications?
Is that
Yeah.
what you? Your assent.
yeah, I don't want to feel like you're,
Do you want to take these things that the expectations that are clearly posted in the RFP and line them up?
Well, that's what this is. That's what
Then
that this
we
is. This
did
is
our best to
exactly.
try to do
You
that.
took these 4?
They took the whole RFP
No, no,
and put
I
it into
meant
this.
this-
No, I did not take those 4.
This is the criteria. That's it. That's it. Everything else is whether or not they answer the questions thoroughly. The way that I,
It's.
But that's how it's graded, right? Like the grade is, it's a completed application.
Yeah. So,
But this is the determination.
And you guys
Is the
may
review
look at the.
right.
I think
Those are the
I,
criteria.
something else needs to get added to that grade. I just put it as a guideline because those are every time I've read these applications, if things are
That,
missing.
yeah, that doesn't tell me much. Unless you go off of a whole other idea, like proposals complete and demonstrates, okay, fine. Success to carry out a successful, like, that's not enough for me. going forward.
Organizational
Right,
capacity.
yeah, so I think this is why we have this to
Yeah,
go off of
it
that, and
helps.
yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah, if they got more yeses than nos.
Yeah.
Great.
Get back into a grade.
So how are you gonna do this?
well, We'll take each application?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a full detail, Mayor. It's just kind of, I think for us, we just want to know, like, especially for Danielle and I, how you look at it, what you see as concerns and what you see as good things. So that way, when we go through them, we can kind of know what to look for.
I will ask questions of you and
As
you
an
can answer
example.
them.
As
Sounds
an
good.
example, if I could, Steve, why do Red Sox? Why don't we start there?
Do you wanna start
okay,
there?
let's go.
I think Mary could give us some insight in.
Mhm.
How many apartments they actually have, you go there. For everything on every part of the fence, so they obviously have a lot of.
Find out, so just, that could be a sponsor, is that? No, but our partner may be interpreted as someone who's making an investment in the event, not just being a sponsor, so. This.
So is that a question
Look at
for
the budget?
sponsors?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
But they,
I mean, they call it,
Say various.
First of all, it's not. an
She's got it
event.
right up here.
yeah, I got it on the screen.
First of all, it's not an
My
event.
notes.
It's not a special event. It's not an event.
Well, it's
It's
an
event.
expansion of
Are
an
we planning on
existing
picking that
event.
Fight tonight, or are we gonna make that another?
if,
time?
I think if we pick that fight, none of these applications are.
I don't think it's a fight. I think that's what that's how I was very clear in the beginning. So I'm reading it, special event.
But they want marketing, right? Like right? Yeah, they want it for marketing.
Yes.
And the whole thing that we sent to them said expansion of existing events or to create new events.
Mhm.
I'd say marketing could fall under broadly expansion of an existing event. And I don't disagree with you that it's a very broad thing. But if we gave them broad information, we're stuck with broad for now, right? We have to just kind of assume they fell under the category.
So. What else about, anything else about the Red Sox?
By the way, I think they do a phenomenal job. So this has nothing to do with what they do for this community and what they do for young people. This has to do with, from my perspective, just so I'm on the record. Biggest fan ever, got the t-shirts. Right? Sent the kids to the programs. So this has to do with this RFP. The definition of special event in the RFP.
I think some of these too is like, so as I looked at the Red Sox one, right, so it's, their total budget is $24,000. I think that's like I'm assuming, again, that that's their marketing line item, because I'm assuming that the ID Red Sox budget is
It's-
way more
yeah.
than $1,000. So I think that, you know, we should probably be making that list of those other questions for when we revise this in like 2 months for next year.
Mhm.
It's like total budget, you know, because this goes back to that budget, looking at this budget, it's very different than everybody else's total budget that they're submitting.
Yeah.
Too,
There's
so,
no reason that we can't ask questions that are leading to next year's changes. You know, there's no reason that we can't ask them, will you make a commitment to collect more than 229 surveys from your 35,000 attendees? When it comes to where they come from, because
That's right.
they give us the information, they say
Yep.
229, and they say 35,000, that's a pretty low percentage of people that fill out the survey of where they're coming from, and which would be integral in my judgment of the event. Or whatever we're gonna call them. 226, sorry. That makes sense, like if you
Yeah.
could bring them in and say, we would like to see a market improvement, like, will you commit to that? And then put it on them, and if they don't, then we've got a better answer for them when they come back the next year. But you're gonna do this and you didn't, so.
Yeah.
How can we give you money when we don't know if it's going to out of state attendees? Coming to the field,
Okay,
so those types of questions I definitely think are within our purview to ask.
So do you have a question you'd like to relay to them in advance? And if so, what is it?
I do.
Yeah.
They have 3 different words for what I hope is the same thing, but I can't really tell. They have sponsorship, partnership, and contributions. What do all those mean? They have various golf tournaments, sponsor 3, contributions, various, and then in the bottom, it goes into partnerships in the budget. I don't know.
That's kind of the three words. How do they differ?
And
How do they differ and what's the distinction?
Right,
I mean, it's the
yeah.
same question.
yeah, what do each of those do? Are contributions just people dropping the money in the bucket at the game, or is it as a partnership, like you said, somebody who just invests but doesn't give money? I don't know, yeah, that's what I would like to know, yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
any other questions for YD Red Sox?
No,
Can I ask Mary a question?
Yep.
Mary, how's the marketing?
They do a fantastic job. And they work closely with the chamber, so we are, if you look at their application, we're considered a
Yeah.
partner, so they're someone that takes advantage of the services with the chamber, to Maria's point, like
Mhm.
they meet with us in the spring, they meet with us in the fall at the end to see what's successful, what they can do better. So we've had a really good rapport with them.
Where their profits going?
Yeah,
You want to ask that question?
It's a valid question.
Well-
They have 55,000.
And they're projecting 59. And so then you wonder.
it's,
So, and the reserves are something less than that, so
Anybody here pulled a 990?
we asked for that.
Yeah.
Did you steal my paper, John?
I didn't want to steal it or not.
You can.
Yeah.
I feel right there.
so you have Danielle's question, right?
About the profit.
I mean, I think the question that I brought up probably applies to all 9 applicants.
Yeah.
Better survey responses.
And then not handing us all of the surveys? Like the 12 pages of survey responses, just tell us what they said.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people are trying to do it electronically
Yeah.
opposed to those cards, so I think that's the. So I know when I did it, we did it like used Google survey
Yeah.
to try to get that, to try to just talk to people, let people do it online and through social media. Because collecting those cards, it was like, there's only 4 questions or something on those cards anyways, which doesn't really give you a lot of information.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Wow.
What?
Would you like to convey any or all of these questions? Kind of give them the heads up. These are the questions the committee's looking to ask. And then they can prepare.
It's the most productive, right?
Yeah, I would say so, put it back on them.
And that way, I mean, if there's individual, so we could assume we're gonna ask these same questions, and I'm talking about the ones at the bottom, and or if we wanna paraphrase the top, or
Well,
what do you
think
think?
the top part is really for your use. Like, do you feel like the applicant answered those questions? Because that's what is required in the RFP.
The one exception I'd ask Mary is, do we wanna put it on them? Is the event the same?
Yeah, I think Mary's right. Forget. If send this out, we don't want to send out quality of narrative to them,
No,
right? But
Agreed.
The event logistics, yes.
Well,
Right.
that should already be answered.
it should be answered.
All of those items should be answered
two.
except the sustainability question. Right, but
So we'd basically be moving is the event sustainable down to the bottom,
And then just
so
sending
that we're
those.
asking.
I think that's also an internal question.
Well, and I think that, but it's like you can ask the question and then you can see what the answer is.
Yeah.
And
We're gonna broach.
grade it that
I
way.
mean, we could even do I would like to see them be sunset and be a percentage of the year
But that's a going
down to
forward
zero.
thing, right?
Right, that's absolutely
Yeah.
going forward thing, but that's
Agreed.
what I'm saying,
So keep it in.
much larger conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, do we want to come up with just a bunch of questions that we ask them all, like those questions at the bottom?
Yeah.
There's gonna be some that's gonna overlap, like the survey stuff, I think they all could do better,
Absolutely.
and sustainability is another one, but they all could commit to sustainability and then they.
I mean,
So we've got how you will use, so Danielle's question is in there.
Mhm.
How will you use the profit? The surveys, how is attendance tracked? So just,
No, I didn't.
and then Courtney's question is very specific to the application.
I mean, it's.
Oh, yeah, you're a math teacher, right?
It's 1/2 of 1% respondents.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, what is, it says, what's it supposed to be 5% or, I think it says.
We used to require 5%.
All right, so that's not in there anymore.
It's not.
Yeah, but the surveys, we definitely at a whole. need to
So,
figure
and
out.
for future things, you have to think about what's realistic, what's enforceable,
Yeah.
and how you're gonna get it done.
Under other questions, we could just ask, have you looked at sponsorships or partnerships? Like, have they even thought of it? Like,
Well,
you
and I
said,
think
sometimes they don't.
That's in the RFP, but
But surveys
It is, but I
are in the current
kept thinking
RFP, so
it's
we can hold them to that now.
It's gotta be exclusive.
I think that's a good point.
Mary, has the chamber spoken to Placer AI or any of those?
Yes, and Karen and I are, so, yeah, the chamber
They're awesome.
has been talking to several different platforms, so, yeah, just stay tuned. We'll be meeting this week with our executive committee and board.
That could solve a lot of.
It could,
It would take a lot of responsibility off of them at the
That's
same
right.
time.
but we will have
And they
to
would
pay for
probably,
it.
and they would probably be surprised too. They might be better than they think they are.
And they could be very well informed.
Mary, one more question. Did you? Under where would you say the dollar investment per expected attendee, where would that fall? Basically, the cost per head to
finance.
See, I just don't know if that's a measurable thing you want to put, because if the legislation said it can be for community enhancement too, and if I use the example of the cleanup day, right?
But this bucket is not community
No.
enhancement, it's events.
That is.
What if you,
I hate to harp on it, but.
It does
our-
have-
our
No, but it
mission is
uses community.
Really kind of clear.
It does say community.
It's
Mhm.
for it's enjoyable for people who live here
And visit the community.
and visit, yeah.
leave my papers alone.
What do you need?
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the paragraphs up there. that
About the
had community.
legislation?
The legislation.
I mean, if
No,
anything, you
it's-
would
it's on
put
the
it under-
RFP.
Oh, in the RFP?
RFP.
Well, it's a measure that
Yeah.
you can put across.
But what are we saying though? If your event costs more per head, then.
No, it's just curious. I mean, if somebody's asking for $60. Of marketing dollars. Per person to attract a person. And DY is asking for like $1. To get that many people. I mean, I think it's just an interesting, it's an interesting number, right?
I think I don't know I think that's apples and oranges event to event, because some events are not able to bring in that many. They're not looking to bring in that many. They have different costs and reasons. I think it's something that doesn't. I don't know. It wouldn't affect my decision, how much people are
Sure.
spending per head on a person.
It's interesting, but I don't see how it's gonna be.
Well, then you guys don't have to use it. I will.
Okay,
Cause Karen just found it, the background on the RFP, the second bullet point. So we can't really. Mary's point, we can't. Can't judge a book by her head. So-
Yeah, but I don't think that's the point she was making, and.
No, I get, I know what she's,
Yeah.
I would love to be able to put a great matrix to this and. Really have this be streamlined and do it fast and do it quick and. Get some great events. It's hard though, cause I mean, anecdotally, I live across from the field. And it's packed all summer long, like they're parked everywhere all summer long, and you can hear the roars, and it's just. Adds a great element to this community, whether it's someone local taking his kid there. Or it's someone that's coming down for vacation, it's a fantastic venue for sure, and it happens all across the Cape. I don't have any problem with it at all, it's just, how do you measure? If the person's going home to their house in Yarmouth, or they're going back to their motel?
Just, does the chamber ever go, yeah, you've done this, gone on site and just, hi, we don't ask that of these groups. Like for us to hire give kids $5 with the iPad and do the surveys.
No, and that. I
I
think
mean,
that
we
may be
wanna
what
get a
we discuss in
return.
the Future.
Mhm.
Because we have talked about, at least we talked about quality of the data we're getting, because right now it's just coming in all different, those surveys, is that, you know, maybe we look at a third party, a little offshoot of this as a third party to go to all these events with the, like, be like Disney, with the guy with the iPad.
A
the
long
guy with the
time ago,
iPad,
we
you
did
know.
that.
Yeah,
So Joe, when, I know you said,
Sure.
you know, you wanted to ask them what they would do to better to return their, you know, to improve their survey rates, but maybe the answer is we have to figure that out.
I don't disagree, but for the purposes of tonight, are you willing to make a commitment to collect 100% more surveys from last year? Like, that's the question I want to ask them. I don't want to ask them to do too much too soon, and I agree, there's more coming that maybe will address all of this, so.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think that I want to put it on their radar, that this is something that's gonna be a priority
They've done a good job.
going forward.
Right, I mean, they could definitely up their surveys, they could have a QR code at every entrance, or even on a parade float, that you scan it and fill it out at the end of the, you know, like,
Right.
at the end. So-
Be part of a raffle, whatever.
Right.
Can I make a
The
suggestion?
Sox have-
Okay. We got,
How are surveys conducted and what steps are you taking this year to increase
Perfect.
response?
Yes.
By 1,000, 50%.
Just have to have something to measure against.
okay, anything more on the Red Sox, anything more?
So we really only have one specific question, and that was Courtney's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Daniel had a
Nope.
question too,
Well, Daniel had the
Mhm.
question about how is profit utilized, but it's covered
covered in that,
on
okay,
the generic list.
all right.
But do we want that specific just to the Red Sox, or do we want that for all the applicants?
I'd like to see it for all of
We're
them.
gonna send this,
Like,
we're gonna modify this and send it to all the applicants, yes?
Yes,
Yes.
I think that the
questions.
consensus that I heard is to send the bottom
Yeah,
part,
the
which is
bottom
just
part.
other questions.
43,
Because-
44 to-
Because the top part should be for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think
And we
that's
can
the
add
purpose of
as
these
we go
discussions
tonight.
tonight, that these specific applicants are gonna inform our
Mhm.
questions and our conversation.
Right.
So we're gonna find, when we go to Thatcher Hall, that we may find something in their application that we want all of them to answer.
Right.
So
Is that who? we're-
kudos. You know,
can I throw a few
What's the
more out
next
for all,
one?
Down?
a few more questions out for all?
Yes.
Joe's good, okay, go ahead.
Who wants what next?
Joe's
Joe's
gonna-
gonna give us a few more other
Awesome.
questions for all the applicants.
For all,
Great.
will your event occur without funding?
Yeah, man.
Good one.
Hard hitting.
Will your event
Without tourism funding?
without tourism fund, right, without grant funding? And then, I think I probably want to do, if not, explain. And then the second part of this, the wording would be, would your event be able to go, if it will occur without funding? Will it be able to occur in the future without funding? So so somebody might have a reserve
Right, for this year.
for this year,
Right.
and they blow their reserve this year. Is this? So I kind of,
Do you want to say continually, like year?
I don't know that
after year,
anybody.
You don't really care.
tourism funds affect future sustainability. of the-
Right, or something, it's like, because I think that there are many that have a reserve that could probably go 1 year, but can they go a second year? Do we want to do that?
Does that
Great questions, Joe.
do it, Joe?
And then-
Yeah, that.
My blood pressure's up.
I'd also be curious about the fees for these, like, so is it a free event? Or what are your fees? Like, so we have some, we'll call them community events that are open to
Right.
anybody that strolls in,
Is there an entrance?
opposed to other ones that have fees. And at least for me, I'm curious, is your event a fee event?
Right, like, I think the part is, well, you have to pay an admission fee, right?
Oh,
Yeah, Thatcher Hall will be a,
It should, yeah.
Right, so some of them I can assume,
I think that's a
that
great,
are,
yeah, that's a
but-
great question to ask.
but I think too, is these ones that are
That's up
open to
top.
all,
Yeah,
we might look at that a little bit differently than.
So that is up top under financials.
Yeah, and
You should be able to
And I-
answer that question.
can't you tell from the,
from the application, yes, you
Yeah.
should.
should be as part of their income.
yeah, there's a, right.
And on the,
Well, no, it's how much they brought in fees. I'm thinking more of, is it $20 to go to this?
Oh,
That's the
there.
thing that I
That's
would rather.
what
see
I
than-
care
I want to know
Yeah.
what the entrance.
I agree.
Entrance fees.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd rather care about that.
That's what
per
I care
head
about
fee
too,
than-
yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
That's where I was going, so.
we got you.
Cause we just have it gross.
Statute says 7.6 tickets are $30 a while.
Yep, but I don't think the pirate thing said what theirs is. It's
And then,
not that.
yeah,
I'd be curious how many of you are on to these events.
I've never heard of these words.
So, yeah. Yeah.
I
I've
was
been to-
trying to think of through when they were talking about marketing. And I was like, yep, I've heard of very minimal of these.
Well, would you go?
I have a 1-year-old, gonna have 2 under 2 soon, like I am most of their prime,
In your-
yeah, like,
Pirate wheel.
You're the pirate.
yeah. I am not their $100,000 minimum income
So
a
here's
year.
A good question.
target
So what's your
audience.
source of, finding this stuff out?
That's what I was gonna ask.
I follow like the Yarmouth page on Facebook. I follow a couple of different like Cape Cod
Yeah,
Facebook ones.
we're probably on the same pages.
Um,
Like I've heard, of
otherwise-
some, but like I've never, even-
Follow the
the Seaside
chamber.
Festival happens right down the road from me.
I
I've
don't know.
never,
And
been.
I-
I've never been,
I've never
Not-
been either.
not a one.
Which one?
I've
The
heard of
Seaside-
Seaside, but
that's
I've never
I've never
been.
been. It happens right down the road from me.
You
I've,
have to go.
I've been to the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I've been to Taylor Bray Farm.
Mm.
Thatcher Hall, I just drove by and realized what it was. Never been to
Okay,
the Pirate
that one.
Festival because I don't have kids and I haven't had a need to go. I
I
would
don't
like to
think
go.
it's, I
Actually
don't think it's
not a
for
kids
kids.
event.
Yeah.
No, it started as an event for kids and it's no longer an event for kids.
Which,
Pirate Festival.
Oh, yeah.
It's started
Very
as an event to
alcoholic.
attract kids and it's now becoming a little bit more King Richard's Fair.
Mhm.
Codstock is new. I will go to that. Cultural Center, I've been to a couple events there. They do a great job marketing, but they
I've
have
heard of
so
them.
many that I just don't know that I think that sometimes things might get bogged down. Like I live right by there too, and I know, oh, they got something going on today because I could see the sign. I think it depends on who they're trying to reach and what they're trying to do. Some places are great at doing targeted Facebook ads
So,
and
And again,
things
we're
like
part of
that.
the community, we're not stopping at the.
Right,
hotel
but
bar.
Yeah.
we have, right. So Mary has the data. I mean, but this is valid, right? I mean, sustainability has to have this community support, obviously. But we have the data for the tourists where they're getting their info. Which is,
Okay.
are we on another?
We have just, who's next? We have the, yeah.
Joe, did you have other
Yep.
questions?
Any more questions?
I'd like to have them nailed down a little bit more on attendance. I know looking through these, what actual and what estimated is, it was very convoluted, like, one of them's like, we're gonna have 3 shows, but the facility only holds 133 people. Does that mean you're only gonna have 399 people total? Like, I was trying to do the math on these and I kind of like to go, if you've had the event in the past, what was your actual would be nice, but I understand that's not practical for all events that are open gates, but the attendance, what you're looking for and what, if you've had an event in the past, like a solid number. Again, and I think is that even though we don't look at that per person necessarily the dollar, but if we're giving $10,000 to something that's open and there's 10,000 people going to, opposed to if we're giving $10,000 to something that's 400 people going to, that is gonna go through in my mind a little bit, so.
Yeah, and to your point, how do you measure the attendance when you're not selling tickets? That would be a question too.
Right.
Is it a guesstimate? Is it a drone? Is it? I don't know.
That's a
Right.
good idea.
Right, and those are those things in the
Thousand,
future
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Counting
We're
estimate.
gonna get you.
Yeah.
There's methodology.
Yeah,
Yes.
Well,
Let's
like,
do it
I'd like
already.
to know that.
I mean, I know that would probably be hard for like like the parade and maybe
Please
even
do
the
it already.
big events, but yeah, I mean, maybe fly a drone over it and it has AI and it sits there and counts people. I'm sure there's technology out there to do it, but maybe that's more in the future. But
Don't hit.
I'm just trying to see, how big is our target audience for each one of these is what I'm.
yeah, I think it's a great angle to look at.
So I'll ask, how is attendance estimated, tracked? What's your methodology?
And who are you trying to attract? And I think it,
That again should be.
But
on the
it's-
you know what, the
taxed.
thing is, it's in the demographics. I think I caught it once. It said, it did say like age group, but it didn't say from Yarmouth or outside of Yarmouth or both. So
Okay.
demographic is,
No.
There's a,
So I would say, I mean, if you guys really take the time and do the upper part that we suggest
Yeah.
you do, if
application.
it answers no,
You are.
then when you're interviewing those people, ask them the questions that you answer no to.
Mhm.
You know, and that is one of the questions.
I got them all. All right, are we done? Are you done with Red Sox?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's next?
Any more?
You wanna go up?
I'm good for it a second. I'm sure I'll think of something else.
Go to Thatcher?
I reserve the right to come back.
We got St. Patrick's Day,
No, Thatcher,
Thatcher, okay.
Work away up.
quarterly fashion.
Yeah. They had a solid application. They answered all the questions.
But it's not an event.
It's three events. It's three,
It's
It's a
three
concert
concerts.
series.
It's concerts. It's not a.
It's a concert series.
event.
I think when you have a concert series, like that's one thing, right? Like a lot of times when you're trying to market that, you are legitimately talking about one thing, right? Like the concerts during the summer.
Yeah.
Like
that's
I
a
would
whole
call
series.
that
Yes.
one event the town puts on. It's on different days, but
The chamber.
yes, the chamber puts on.
In the application, it says, it's described as an event, a program, or a project. Right? So.
It's definitely one of those three.
one of those.
Mhm.
What is it?
And they're really just looking for marketing.
Yeah.
Right,
But who's performing?
It's through, they're partnering with Payomet and it looks like they're gonna be deciding.
right.
Well,
It looks like they haven't decided.
I don't think we
who
can
it is.
decide if we wanna give funding or not based on who's coming to town to perform.
No, I don't think so either. But then we're
I'd like
defining
to, but.
What's good and what's not good, 'cause I don't know that. I would-
Payomet is really good at what they
If that was
do.
the case, The pirate
Payments.
festival wouldn't have gotten a dime from me because
Very
I don't.
They're very good at what they
They
do.
know what they're doing.
Mhm. Mhm.
well,
And I
that's
think
a
people would be
matter of
excited to
opi-
see
that's a
it.
matter of opinion, isn't it?
So,
That's what we're saying. You can't talk about who's gonna be performing and have that. Have any bearing on the application.
Yeah, I think you can. I think you'd want to know what is the what is it? Is it,
And we have to.
composer based? does it have a?
But how would that
a-
change
a
your
theme?
answer?
Does it have a,
But-
does it have a definition? Is it the concert series of,
I mean,
the
Payomet,
music?
all you
of-
need to know is it's Payomet. It's Payomet coming to Yarmouth. You don't have to go all the way to Truro and you're gonna get a good experience
Yeah.
because it's a Payomet focused concert. People right now are driving from Yarmouth to Truro to spend dollars
Or
from here
Sandwich to
or
Truro.
Sandwich. Going everywhere else but Yarmouth. And now Payomet, a leading group of performance artists wants to come to our town. Enough said.
Right.
Enough
Okay.
said.
I've never heard of them.
You've never heard of
before,
Payomet.
And I've been
Okay.
I've been involved in the performing arts community here on the Cape. For
So they're
30
at
years.
Truro and they're highly regarded.
Well, I just looked them up on the website, but again, like
Yeah.
you just said, you never heard of these events and I've never heard of them. And so the question is then, just because I like you, I value your opinion, is for this group to say, well, who is this partnership? Who are the underlying partners? I don't know.
Can I ask the question another way? If they didn't have payment, would they put this event on?
Probably not.
Okay,
I would guess that they've been working hard at this partnership for a while. I would just, given that Thatcher Hall is relatively new, under new people with new ideas, it seems to me this is something that they've kind of thought on.
In the past, they've had concert series
yeah, didn't
with,
they come to us once before?
with kind of like the New England Conservatory of
Right,
Music
right.
and different,
Right,
kind of more orchestral
Yeah, but this could be like,
events. This could be
this could be jazz, this could be oldies, this could be
Peter Wolf.
Peter Wolf, that, yeah, random older artists that like people come from all over to see. Who knows, which is, I'm excited to see who they get. And maybe now that they've had some time, maybe that's a question we can ask when they come is. But maybe it's something they also don't want to delve out yet. Maybe they aren't 100% sure, but. Yeah,
That's a good point.
75 tickets
okay,
per concert.
I know that one, I just had the question about where does the profits go, because it said
Mhm.
that there was zero profit in the budget, but then in the narrative, it said that they were splitting the profits
Right.
between the two different organizations, so it's kind of like,
Yeah, What's what?
Okay, do I'm happy to ask them a
Well, I think it's,
clarifying
I think
question.
we added it to our generic all question, right? We're gonna send those up,
Yes.
bottom questions to everybody, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
but if you're saying there's a discrepancy between two spots, or you can wait till the meeting, it's up to
Well,
you.
right, I think it's gonna get answered when we say,
Okay,
but I mean, I don't know, what do you got? That was just one thing when I read it, I was like, all right, wait a minute. Was that the one that was equipment that they wanted? There's one of these, now I forgot to write a note that they wanted to buy equipment.
pod
with it.
stock.
That was
Pod
cod
stock.
stock, okay,
Stock.
so that was the one.
Might have been rental. Are you,
It's 3 concerts, right?
Free concert series.
133 people. You guys understand that, right?
It's
Well,
Uh,
it's just the
all there
function-
is. Everybody-
each one
per,
It's
per event.
Per event.
Yeah.
It's what the,
133 times 3.
just what the hall.
it's still
holds.
community benefit. Those, however many people are gonna go and benefit the community and enjoy it. I don't care how few there are.
And maybe PMET's doing a proof of concept, maybe they wanna go. to
Yeah.
a drive-in site.
Okay, and I get that. And I'm just saying that this for me doesn't belong in this bucket of
Okay.
money.
Okay.
Right, but those are for next year, these are those questions we're gonna write down for next year. So I know one thing, like when we did our research, there was outdoor events, like a lot of these groups that fund these, it's only outdoor events. And we came across, 4 or 5 of those and a lot of the research
They said.
Maria pulled up. So that may be something we look at in the future, but
Did they say what time of year this was happening? I can't.
Spring and fall.
Right, well, yeah, see, and.
So it is a
that's-
Shoulder.
Yeah, because right now they only operate outside in Truro,
Right.
so a nice indoor space.
PMET's looking to extend their season.
May and April, maybe through April, September through
Yeah.
November.
Right?
And you've said we need
Yeah, you
more
really got
indoor
me.
spaces anyways for
Circus.
events.
They Start to
I
pay
just
that.
wonder how they do their parking.
And Jimmy Tingle's gonna be there in
Oh,
October. You wanna go see Jimmy
Such a
Tingle?
hard venue
I saw
there.
that sign.
What's next?
around the
What's-
green, right?
Right.
Who's up?
I have a question for
Oh.
them.
What's that?
How do they foresee accommodating parking?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a great question.
So the only thing I can think of is that they probably partner with the B&B across the street.
Mhm.
Compass.
It's not Compass Rose anymore. It's the,
Right, so therefore, are there detail, is the budget?
thank you, Chapter.
That's a good
If the-
question.
Yeah, because they're gonna have, if people crossing the street, they're gonna have to have a detail.
Right, and that one.
Just parking.
Okay, what's up? Up next, Karen?
The next one up the list,
Taylor Bray,
Taylor Bray Farm.
Yeah,
and this is 2 events.
Cheap
Cheer the
festival.
And they're both shoulder seasons.
Mhm.
yeah. I want to say, really, that's all they want.
Right.
And-
So much.
Do they get money from the town, from other stuff?
Not other than that.
Not even the CPA or?
No, well, any,
Rec-
no, not through recreation. They, all of the improvements, like the barn project that's going on, that's a CPA project. We've spent a fair amount of CPA money
Oh, yeah, they've got the great.
on
signs.
site, but it's the town's property
No,
too.
but I
so-
know, but
Yeah.
Be just fine.
On the barn, yes, phase 2, yes. Actually, there's something to do tomorrow.
they're not an enterprise fund though, are they?
They're not. They are.
They
the
can't get their own-
Conservation Association is a 501(c)(3), separate.
Okay,
Do a great job.
Separate
so
from
they
the
can get
town.
sponsors.
And I just know through all my kind of work with them too, they have, they have
List of sponsors.
a list of
Yeah.
sponsors, and I think these are all the, they do a pretty big silent auction. So they get a lot of donations. They have a lot of ongoing donations they receive. Things in kind. Food for the animals. And I think that their profit at the bottom goes back to the care and the upkeep of the animals.
Yeah.
That's exactly, I mean, they were asked, they were informed that their sustainability was gonna be a factor that this committee was gonna consider. I'm sure that they could do a lot better with this list. Because $100 from Cape Cod 5 or Cape Cod Alarm, excuse me, $400 from Cape Cod 5. It's not a. There's room to grow their sponsorships for sure, if they were pushed in that direction. without a lot of pain. I don't think we'll be putting the sheep out
Do they,
pasture.
they're like a membership based organization too.
Correct.
Do they have their, what they get in membership fees in here at all, or is it just
I
under?
don't think so. I think this is limited, this is again limited to the event. This is
Right.
the event budget.
New donors?
Any
Joe's
specific
Joe's
questions for
question
that?
Apply, because
Mhm.
if the members go free and then the other, if you're not a member, do you
Yeah.
pay to get in? So
Yeah, do they charge, do they charge?
Everybody pays.
Okay.
So I think most of the events, I think they don't charge. I've just been to this one a bunch. But generally when you roll in with your car,
They
there's
yeah.
a suggested donation
Yeah.
for parking.
A big guy with a clicker.
Ready?
Okay,
I'm fine.
Okay,
50 on.
so no specific questions for them.
no,
Parade?
Why do they continue to call it the Cape Cod St. Patrick's Day Parade and not call it the Yarmouth St. Patrick's Day Parade? Just, that's my little, at this point, since Dennis is bailed and.
I think the sponsorship question is gonna be a big one for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Oh, and along with that, who covers the entrance and fees for the nonprofits that are in the parade? Because I'm pretty sure they don't get charged a thing.
and is this this and the Seaside juxtaposed together where we want to, can we ask them for why the detail for their town fees? I'd really like
It's
to know
so-
what they're paying.
so we do know what they're paying. I have
Well, we know for like more of a detail.
$13,000.
I know for,
Do you want to see the invoice or?
oh, yeah,
No.
oh, that would
So-
be good.
Just so you know, we met, this keeps coming up every year. We talk about this and goes nowhere. We met with the police chief, or one of his representatives, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Peter Smith was on. And,
Ken,
and Ken,
Ken
that's
was
right,
there.
that's right. Ken was there. And, the response we got back, we asked, why is it so high? The response we got back was, it's based upon the number of participants that they're anticipating to attend the event. And public safety of those participants vis-a-vis the public, right away. So,
Was there a distinction between attracting just Yarmouth residents or attracting people from the outside, or it's just kids?
just heads,
Mm.
just heads.
Oh,
So the feeling of the police department is this is what they need for
Yeah, for a non.
these number of police officers needed for this number of people are gonna be in this event. That's the basic line. Then you add on, layer on alcohol, driving and all this other stuff. So they have in their way of thinking, expectations that police has to have a force there for that amount of people.
So when you say there, do we know, is this just for police presence during the time the parade starts and ends, or is there some additional police presence on the street hours after the event?
I don't know for sure, Maria. I think that it's probably, the figure that's in here should just be for the event. Any additional detail that's required for private events
Yeah.
would be offline.
Yeah, it's just-
No, I just meant is the police, do you recall? If the police consider this an event with fixed number of hours, or because their people are gonna go to other establishments and there might be alcohol, consider it a longer period of time?
No, I think it's just for the event,
Okay.
for the event. And it's not just for officers from this town, it's officers from other towns as well.
To cover what's needed.
Usually.
I have a question that I'd like to ask. If it's, we don't. I found the application kind of in your face. I don't know how everybody else felt, but they wanted the money, this amount of money. They
By a
wanted it
date.
By September 20th. My question is, if they don't get $60,000, do they still have the event?
Well, that's in the main group of questions that were.
Okay.
Right?
Right,
I was thinking though, maybe to add, so we did it with the event go on if there's no funding, but
Yeah.
should we also add minimum fund? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if we could get a valid answer necessarily, or they would even know, any of these events would know. But what would be the minimum funding to have your event?
We don't go down, I don't think.
Don't even go down that road. All right.
right. Now, remember though, this event, and it came up before, is that they're competing with the performers
they need it.
with, for Boston, Holyoke and other places, and they need to lock in contracts. Or they lose the performance to other St. Patrick's Day events. So with that being said, what, the follow-up question to this is that what are the particular constraints, if any, on your event regarding
Okay,
funding?
I'll go with that.
And
Okay. Do you put the
I believe the answer is because they need to secure pay like real bands and stuff like that. And but and so I want to, that would be helpful to confirm.
Maria, I want to make sure I get that
Yeah.
question right.
Do they have any
Use of
particular constraints
Funding.
on
constraints.
funding constraints in terms of timing? I.e.
Do you mean like, I don't know?
Do you mean deposits?
Yeah, that's
So
what I'm
like, do they
thinking.
have to get the
Okay,
deposits?
yeah, 'cause
in
they have to, I'm pretty sure,
To lock in these people. Right,
yes,
okay,
Have-
gotcha.
Haven't they said that? Didn't they
That's
go to
why
a
I'm here.
town meeting and then
yeah. that
pushed
was-
this
that
whole
was it.
thing earlier?
Up this whole schedule.
But so why?
And in their
but
thing, it
why,
says they
though?
want it on the 20th.
But we need to know why they don't have the reserves to put up these
Deposits.
deposits earlier, yeah.
And to a certain extent, it's kind of like, you know, the one hand and the other. So these are performers that rely upon St. Patrick's Day events in order for their livelihood. So why wouldn't you just like lock it in? It's, I don't need to know. I was
And
curious.
one thing I want to just let you know, so the contracts that we execute, and it's the same with CPA, are reimbursement contracts.
Mhm.
So we don't, these, we allow up to 25%. Can be used, but we want to see the contract. And that's the maximum. But we don't pay for deposits as a rule.
No, I know
Less
that,
than
but we talk, but I do believe that they have to sign somebody up to perform.
Right, but my point is that if they have to pay for the deposit somewhere, it's got to come from somewhere, and our funds are limited in terms of what could be used for deposits.
Mary's just showing me the math's not right.
No,
No, it's not.
It's-
On the budget,
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
so.
we
the
can ask,
Question of, what is the budget?
oh,
'Cause
you know what?
like,
What I'd like to do
Yeah, and
is,
I just didn't know if there was a problem with the formula.
I don't, I checked some of the others, and that's where, so what I'd like to ask, and I mentioned it earlier today, is I'm gonna get, because Maria, you had asked last time. We asked for an electronic budget, but it's not a Excel budget. So we have a couple, but not all of them. So I'm gonna ask for the Excel budgets from everybody.
No, that would be great.
We've asked this for years and years and years with these guys. And every year we get this. Can you throw their budget up there?
I just wanted to make sure that it's not a problem with our
Spreadsheet.
form,
Good.
because maybe I didn't go through and check everybody's budgets.
I assume
Just because they
Yeah,
have big
that's true.
numbers, it stands out.
Some identify.
And when people manipulate budgets in Excel, they might
changes.
not be familiar with Excel, and they could put in
My staff.
something that
leaves-
screws it up.
leaves
Um,
forms.
Just scroll down. if you
It's
could,
a
just-
simple mistake.
And just go
Yep.
Right.
Where would you like me to go to, Steve?
this page right here.
Oh, that's the marketing.
Oh, the one that you can't read?
Yeah, mine,
Gave up trying to read that one.
Yeah, but
I-
I just wanted to point out, because they got
Oh,
a
this
different,
is, yeah.
they have a different figure for the police details and fire department EMTs. By the way, they didn't even mention the fire department EMTs above in the other budget. But the 11,902 is different what they have up top in another budget. They have,
But this is, I think, the marketing budget, right?
This is
But it's not the
budget
marketing
sum-
budget.
No, so this is the marketing,
Resubmit.
this is the plan for the
Trying to figure this out.
marketing.
Literally doesn't add up, like the,
But this number,
what,
I think that, Steve, this number, so if this is a marketing budget, the 67,114, it should tie to
right there.
the,
67.
is the
You
67?
just went past it. Split it. There you go.
6, 7, 1.
So there's the 11,902.
total expenses.
But that includes program and fees.
So I think they just got confused.
Yeah. I think it's all honest.
Yeah, yeah.
Mistakes, so. It's fine.
I do have a question. Just looking at, some of these places, their website, it says this year, this season, we're aiming to do no less and keeping the parade. In addition to the yearly parade, we're planning to host fundraising events as well. I would like to know what events they've hosted to date and how those did,
Good job.
because I don't think I've seen one,
Good
to
question.
my knowledge anyway. And the sponsorship, I think I need clarification on sponsorship versus entry fee. Because they have like a business float sponsor and then like political fit. It's just a little confusing to me. Is there a separate entrance fee to be in the parade, or is this how they get people in? I don't,
There's a separate entrance fee,
okay.
Entrance fee for,
On a float.
putting your float
for
in.
your float.
I'd like to see what the entrance fees are too then.
Which line is that, Courtney, in the budget? I just want to make sure I get it right. Okay, just under the sponsorships? No,
Well, it's just confusing because you go to their website,
It has to be
Yeah.
floats and sponsors.
okay.
but I think, yeah, they,
So you want clarification on sponsorship?
That'll be-
info-
And if you look at the page, you don't even see a Yarmouth logo on there, by the way.
2022 was up there too. It'd be helpful to know how they were able to accomplish it without the $50,000
yes.
earmark.
You see, yeah, you can be a band sponsor, a corporate sponsor, diamond, green, white, gold, or
Well,
just have your name on the web,
30
but I'd like to know
Well,
what they
60
charge to get into.
Supposed to-
So they don't have that.
22%.
You can't look at the
fee.
application until it's time to join. the
I'd like us
church.
to
I'm
take
guessing they
control of
haven't
the
out yet
marketing,
because
just
I don't know if
saying,
they're
you
doing
know
it.
what?
Okay.
We're gonna underwrite this and this.
Get
You just
application
take it up
fees
here.
too.
And it's
Okay.
uniform. And then you can start measuring it.
We done with the parade?
So I just want to make sure I got these questions specifically, in addition to the general questions. So we're gonna ask for budget clarification. What are the funding constraints around the deposits for entertainment? I'll finesse it better.
Yes, it's
Um,
not deposit, the commitments.
Yeah. What fundraising events have happened to date? How did those perform and what's planned?
Mhm.
And then clarification on sponsorship. What are the application fees
Mhm.
for participation in the parade? Did I miss anything?
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you.
you are welcome. Next one?
Who dat?
Seaside,
Seaside.
So-
Reached the full climb.
Can I ask that?
You
used to do that.
used to do
I
that,
say-
that's why.
did he? Oh, God.
He's blushing.
Well, I know.
I just remember that I was, probably enthusiastic about it, but I was probably suggested that gravity is not my friend. There was more wily gangly members of the youth community that would be better suited.
So, anyway, this is just a comment here, but I see here that, the largest chunk of their money is for fireworks, and I think this committee should have a separate discussion about having sponsoring its own fireworks town. It's
Oh.
just separate, because it's kind of like the thing, all over the Cape.
Yep.
And,
On
It's a
top of
separate marketing.
Seaside Festival?
no,
or-
as a separate,
And
just a separate sort of fireworks attraction for the town of Yarmouth. I mean, it's so popular,
the
and it
biggest,
used to be so popular when I was a kid, so I kind of miss the fireworks.
the biggest challenge is the plovers.
Right.
And so we're forced to put them to the fall, and now Dennis and Hyannis do that all in the same weekend.
Yeah,
It's going off all over the place, same.
but I mean, just this is for later, because I think this is a responsibility that shouldn't rest with just this group.
I think but they've usually only gone through.
Anything else on,
Well, let me
Seaside?
ask that question.
She,
Would
she's
you
got
be
it.
amenable to separating the fireworks from the festival?
I think it's premature.
Start a conversation about how we feel about it. We think it should be a larger endeavor on the town's behalf. What you just said.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to mislead them though, because we're not there yet.
I wonder if they get other sponsorships. Joe, maybe you know, for the fireworks specifically.
They have in the past that I know of. I don't know currently. You know, a lot of times it's just for the whole event. And
Right,
CSAT's one of those weird ones where they have the bonfire, they have.
September.
right. There's
they
so
have
many
the road
events.
race, They have, right, so it's multiple events in one. They have the fireworks. So
October. Yeah.
I honestly don't know currently. I know in the past they have.
And then
Yeah.
December.
Joe, in your
We're the only one in
experiences, do they
October.
think the fireworks?
Everybody else is in
are they-
September,
is it a
December.
burden?
The only one in
Is it a
October.
burden?
Would they rather someone?
No, I think I know, like, when I was part of it it was always kind of like that. You have that long, hard weekend, everybody volunteered, and it was kind of that finale of the whole
Right.
weekend of a whole bunch of events.
And you're not.
And, you know, I know with the fireworks too, it's one of those ones in the past that, you know, it starts out funded as X amount of money, and then it's like, hey, we get some extra money. We'll put some, you can put some, you know, a month before, you can put a little more towards it to make the show a little bit bigger or better. You know, if you had that windfall for some reason, but you know, it's different with events. I know at Seaside, you get one rainy weekend. And all that money you were bringing in from parking and food and all that other stuff that was going back to the event now is gone. And then that's where your reserves go.
Mhm.
So, you know, each event is going to be more dynamic based on things like the weather is one of those events that, you know, Seaside, the weather is very,
Mhm.
very big on because they take in so much revenue day of, we'll say, or
Right.
weekend of or whatever.
I will say though, Oyster Fest happens the same weekend and they are rain or shine and people are there the entire day. They do not care. Like, I think it depends on what people want to do and their draw and things like that. And now that I think of it, people are probably driving right through Yarmouth on Seaside Festival weekend to go all the way out to Wellfleet to spend money there. So
What usually the weekend after Seaside
But
as well. No. or Wellfleet's
Seaside,
now
but
or-
Seaside is generally rain or shine, with the exception of the fireworks,
Right, so
or
it
the bonfire perhaps.
right, in the past, they've actually even delayed, like they've done stuff on
Right.
Monday. But right, so it'll still go. The problem is that not necessarily everybody goes.
Public
Like, so the
just doesn't
revenue-
show up.
and it's free, right?
And it's free.
Yeah,
It's
see if
free.
people.
So my point was just to dive in a little bit more is that if there's like an event and then we can make it Yarmouth firework
You have to go.
day or something like that, then the restaurants can build event of marketing around saying, you know, come, you know, fireworks, 10% discount, something, and we get people to come to town and eat in the restaurants before they go to the fireworks. It's just like trying to, you know, within these events, figure out what can we look at to extract to become a larger event that will help more businesses. So,
I think with this event, the fireworks are such a tradition,
Yeah.
like.
no, absolutely, absolutely, but it would be nice to be able to build something more around.
Yep.
A fireworks, series of fireworks.
We can get somebody to submit an application next year for just fireworks. Logistically, they just gotta figure out what the best time of the year is for plovers.
I know.
Mary, you had a better idea with the drones, right?
Oh, that's.
Oh, yeah, the drone.
Yeah, if you ever saw
display.
what they do in Boston, it's amazing. So
Yes.
Jen and
What
I-
everything's going over to,
Yeah,
every fireworks is going,
The drones, yeah.
it will
it's
be,
absolutely amazing.
yeah.
And then there's this other display that you can put in the river. And it's like they shoot the
Oh.
water and it's a water fireworks,
Oh, yeah.
fireworks.
Waterworks?
Waterworks,
Like a water-
it's actually called waterworks, yeah. But that's, I mean, at the mouth of the river, that would be awesome, you know?
Yeah.
Current's too much there.
Okay,
Next one.
Besides the grease pole, we don't have any questions for
So
them?
no specific, I didn't hear any
You-
specific
they
questions.
put it up, you have to go do it then.
I wrote it down.
I'm an adult now, I can make my own decision.
No peer,
He's volunteering to grease it though.
no peer pressure.
Okay, what do we get next?
Pirate Fest.
Alright, ready?
Are we gonna look at some historical
What did you want to say?
parade information, Steve?
This is.
What would you like to
Awards.
see? Yeah, I can, I
Did you
can,
ask for that?
did you want the historical
I know.
awards for the parade?
For the
Yeah.
minute sentence.
I mean, you've had that.
Yep.
I
I've
have
seen it,
that.
I just don't remember.
But you had
what
it-
the
yeah.
trend looks
You
like.
had it last.
Like 22, 25,
Um,
22 to 25.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay,
it
not to
is.
belabor anything, but I just,
You just.
Mary, because I didn't go to the Pirate Festival, would you think it's accurate that their projection of attendees is 8,000? Did you make that kind of a guess?
Is it
No,
8,000? I thought it was 4,000.
I think I wrote down 8.
I could be totally wrong.
Well, I so could
Have
I.
4.
All right,
Well, what their actual was this past year compared to what they estimate was a
Oh.
very, it was like more than double, I think.
Okay, that could be.
or we're probably, well, that gets back to the application, right? We
Can
are.
applications not be allowed to be sideways?
That's where
I
it's-
know, I know.
Numbers are in different places. That's why I was like, let's just ask the question of, what was it? What do you expect it to be? That was,
Total
also
attendance
just-
is projected
They
to
shouldn't
be
allowed to be physically sideways.
3,900.
This was an interesting number. Festival attendees accounted for 258 hotel rooms in the area. How did they figure that?
They said that they did 5% or something. They got 5% response on their surveys and then just did it up.
Average daily attendance, 1,300 people a day.
Aaron had asked them if they got their data too.
Is my understanding of it.
They did a lot through, yeah, they did conduct their survey, but they also do a lot of analysis based on credit cards that
There's a
they
lot of
get
numbers.
at the entry.
A lot of numbers.
So there's kind of,
They're-
they can determine like how far away people are.
The
and-
what it is.
Yeah, the whole registration to get a ticket, you gotta give them, like, there's no way they're not collecting all that.
Right.
Smart.
Your billing address, your.
Well, I mean, they were even saying, they're the ones that said like married, wasn't it? Like, they had, marriage, attendance, marriage identification.
How many people attended last year?
There, look, I
Drove
rotated.
by and saw the sign. Yeah.
Lucky.
yeah, didn't they say they were like expecting like 10,000 total this year because of the kid, adding the kids? So they were doing some school stuff too or something, I
They
thought,
were all reading.
but
Right, we all have a different number, like
So-
that's.
Funny as that.
Well, if
So
you go,
what's the question? Clarify,
clarify attendance.
and that goes back to those original questions.
I think that's, yeah.
The questions for all group.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the other piece too. TBD location change due to construction.
right,
So what's going on?
Right.
Do we have
they're-
anything yet?
They're
in the
going,
town?
they were on the driving site, so the
Right.
driving site's gonna be probably under work with the
We've-
new park stuff going on,
Yeah,
right?
we've met recently with Chris and
Did too.
encouraging him to use the
Across the street.
Simpkins Field.
And
Looking
we
at
and we
across the
did
street.
Same thing.
the
His main concern is some of his, I don't know how to
Games.
describe it, staging and things, are pretty disruptive to the ground. So it's almost like he wants a location that's not super nice because
that a
he might
case?
impact it. We mentioned that as well. It's a little bit off the beaten path. He'd like to be in the Pirate Mile, or is it miles or
Yes,
miles?
mile.
It's like a block.
Not
Although-
bad at East,
It's
I
good.
don't know.
Wait,
not,
but just where the
Oh,
pirate museum
no.
is located to over there, is that the Pirate Mile?
Pirate, I think the
Pirates Mile
Pirates
is-
Museum all the way to Bass
Why
River.
is this a
Shores.
phrase everyone knows?
Yeah, I never heard before. I see one pirate thing there. I would, interesting, okay.
Really?
But Chris is a good brand. I
Never
like
heard
that.
of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But looking at his.
And he's interested in working with the WIDA,
I don't know about that.
so, but the location does remain TBD
If they want to-
So once
as of
again,
right now.
There's a lot of
It's
swashbucklers around for those events. I see them around.
No, people are
Yeah,
into
they-
it.
why isn't
They're
it the art, why isn't it, okay, just curiosity. Why doesn't he feel it's appropriate? Why is he branding it the Cape Cod Pirate Festival and not the Yarmouth Pirate Festival?
I think Cape Cod is a bigger, broader grab. You hear Cape Cod, you're going to Cape Cod, you don't care where you're going. You hear
Better
Yarmouth, you're like, oh, I
marketing.
gotta go all the way over there, and then you're there. Like, Cape Cod is what
It's the
people,
brand.
and
Yeah.
people don't even call it Yarmouth. They call it Yarmouth and Yarmouth and everything else. They know Cape Cod. It's easy to pronounce. And that's why, is that not why our
2/3
slogan
of
is
his-
Cape Cod within reach?
It's,
That's-
I don't know.
that's-
But is that not the slogan? Is that not it? Is
Yeah,
that not
it
it?
is.
Yeah, that's
It-
the,
Okay,
Unfortunately.
not, it's not Yarmouth within reach, it's Cape Cod within.
but that's, okay, so that's the point. We're not promoting ourselves, but, okay.
I think the
Another
promotion
topic.
isn't, I think it's enough that it's a cute, I think for me, it's the Cape Cod Pirate Festival located in Yarmouth. Just like when you go to the Cape Cod Fair, you're going to Falmouth, but you're still at the Cape Cod
That's not a
Fair.
bad idea. It's
Mhm.
like a tagline, sort of, Cape Cod Pirate Festival at Yarmouth,
In your.
or same thing.
he's
Cape-
yar.
your mouth.
Wait till I show you the new jingle that I have for the town. Based upon a sea shanty.
Don't worry, we have that in our contract. We're doing a jingle. this year.
I guess
Yeah.
I have a question
Well, then I'll
too,
give it to you. It's
for them.
public
They
domain.
talk about introducing 4 new events within the next 2 years. How can they introduce these new events and keep this sustainable? How are they gonna do it all?
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing it without a site.
I don't know, I don't, it's just, that's confusing.
They don't
to
have a
me.
location.
I would like to look ahead to next year's Pirate Festival, but I don't really know how we're gonna get 4 other events in.
Courtney, where are you reading from?
Go
Page
down,
49.
yeah,
49. Wait.
Yes,
I'm
49.
Taking a shortcut.
yeah.
There.
As mentioned earlier in this report, our experience with the town of Yarmouth has been exceptional. We are looking forward to continuing our relationships in the years ahead by repeating this event annually, as well as introducing new themed events to the area, including another pirate festival, Steamport Hyannis, that's not in Yarmouth, Cape Cod Celtic Festival and Highland Games. And so if
We
these
had
are,
that one time.
I would just like to know, I guess,
So Sleepy
It's
Hollow.
again,
he's
with
been
sys-
working
that's
on
more of
for
like a-
years.
organization sustainability.
It
but
hasn't
He's
happened
talking
yet.
about different.
Can't find the
themed
location.
events, I
And he
think,
wants to
though.
do it in Yarmouth.
To the area, I want to make, I guess it all comes down to, how are you gonna keep this sustainable?
You can
And
see
then,
one that you're gonna do for Halloween.
no, I know what he's doing. But if you're asking us for money in year 3 and we can't see that you're sustainable, how are you gonna start putting on all these other events?
Good question.
That's my concern.
Gotcha.
I love the ideas, but.
Do you
this
want to
is-
ask that specifically of him? Or does the general question?
I guess
Cover it.
hopefully it will cover it,
Read my writing.
but if I have to
I'm
ask
happy
it
to-
more pointedly, I
Yeah.
can.
Okay.
Yeah, but it should,
So
should cover it.
Just what-
Hopefully they-
you got good answers from him as far as other sites, or he's studying it, or how's that?
He's
Do you want-
looking into another private location.
Okay,
And then, we strongly encouraged.
Oh, yeah.
Simpkinsfield.
where's,
He needs,
where's that?
Simpkinsfield is the one where the Seaside Festival is, right across the street.
Okay,
Okay,
And he understands that he needs to, secure the use of any town land sooner rather than later, so that it's
Okay.
tied up.
because his answer to that's gonna have some ramifications on, the only other thing I wanted to ask, is, he's got, his police detail went up from 2,400 to 5,000. And he also has fire detail in there, so he's got $6,200,
Camping for all.
Oh, he's not gonna be able to do the camping.
$6,200 for police and fire detail.
No, but total he's asking for 50, right?
right.
Yeah,
Well, I guess my question is why has it gone up, police detail?
Okay,
That's probably germane to the other ones that have police.
so that's a
details.
specific question.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd like to know why it's over 2 weekends. And
It was 2 weekends this year.
I would like to know, I'd like to know the answer to that.
Just
As I know, I'd like a 3-day and versus a 3-day, just curiosity.
Okay.
And I think they mentioned that how is he going to attract local performers and what does he mean by the local performers?
Did you say it was for police?
6,200, 5,000 for police.
So it's 6,600 for the Seaside Festival.
Is it?
So compare the two events.
And that's a 3-day event, right?
Right, how do you even compare those budgets?
Oh, and then it's even more for the,
You can't, the Seaside Festival, I mean, they have like 6 and 7 cops.
So
people
why
beating
would,
the
no, but that's it,
fireworks,
but
they
that,
have,
why
like-
would he need that many?
right.
But it all depends on how many,
but it's
how many
over
they
4
require.
days, right? If we're talking about 2 weekends, that's just a lot of
Traffic?
time.
Well, shouldn't we have the answer to that instead of guessing?
Yeah,
Agreed.
we,
I also don't know that they're the people to ask for these calculations. I would love to see how it's being billed to them on the backside. I think that's really the root of it.
I had
you're
kind
right.
of my own list,
Yeah.
just reaching out to
Mhm.
PD and FD
Mhm.
and giving them the list of
'Cause
these applications and the numbers that have been quoted.
Because I can imagine these people
Yeah.
are going,
Good.
oh, I think I need 8 cops for.
No,
4
yeah,
days,
they're-
maybe 6 EMTs.
No, it's on a to-do list.
Do you think you need direction from the city as a whole to get that, or you get it?
Get it,
I do,
So while you're at it,
get it.
right now,
I don't know.
between the applications that need police and fire details, we're almost up to $40,000. They're asking, so this money, this tourism money, the $140,000 that we have to give up.
Just give it to them.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
You
just
do.
give it to the police and fire. $40,000, here you go.
Around 20% of that $40,000 is an administrative fee that goes back to the general fund of the town.
Yeah.
So
Rob Peter to pay Paul.
Say that again, how much?
I believe it's 20% administrative fee that goes back to the town for facilitating the detail. I think it's
Some put that
10 or
in their
20%.
budget and some didn't.
either 10 or 20%, don't hold me to that, but. You know, the town used to do like they used to back in the day would do fee waivers for all that stuff, but now as soon as then they changed the rule, the selectmen changed the rule that if
Mhm.
any town funding is received, they won't waive the fees, but you look at, thousands and thousands of dollars of fees that are basically.
Circulating
Yeah, it's
through different
just-
accounts and budgets.
One more comment and I won't harp on it anymore. We're gonna be
No.
wrestling with how we get from 9 applications to whatever for $140,000. And we have $40,000 on the table that we have to pay for the town for services that really don't go into any of these programs, so.
Mhm.
That's all, that's my 2 cents worth. That really, can't be addressed by you, it should be by the town manager and board of selectmen.
Mhm.
Every year we say this and then nothing gets done, so. Okay. My editorial comment's done.
Thank you.
Welcome. What's
Anything
next?
else on the pirates?
Just the location is the only one that really still goes out. It's like if they.
When we met with him, he was very adamant about wanting to maintain kind of the event's momentum. So I think he really wants he wants the same thing. He
How
wants to
much
find a spot.
Space is he?
I don't know.
Spreads out pretty good.
It's a sprawl.
I mean, even
perhaps-
his thing, he's wants something that he can put a ton of structures on.
Yeah, the games that he has, the wooden structures.
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would be
Old-time
very
schools.
helpful to know if we at some point are address our outside venue space.
The event space.
event space.
And we've talked with him before and
Yeah,
he's
does he
on
just-
call, he's on call he's offered 1,000 times and we've spoken to him about kind of what it takes for the event space.
Hopefully
So.
we'll get this new company to. Did you get it? Oh, we'll see you later.
Okay,
Next is
next, what's next?
Garden
You
Public
tell me.
Finance. Holiday showcase.
Yeah,
All right.
This is new. Yes.
Well, it's
It's a
new,
new
it's a new
application.
request, but the event has happened before, and I think in their budget, they have prior year information for 21,
Mhm.
2021.
it's an amazing event. I've never seen,
It's one event or is it a
2 blocks away, I've never seen a lull.
It's always a lot of people.
Always a lot of, rain, even in the worst weather. It's extraordinary. I really would be nice to see how we could. Not. Figure out a way to have something about. In the next event, like at this venue, just it's such a captured audience. And it's really a lot of women who want something to do on the weekends. So, it is,
I have a green thumb.
bunch of guys and girls,
Jesus.
I just like the holidays.
Mm,
Eventually.
and I'm surprised, because this
They
is
will
a
be
very
here
tight
soon.
venue, and it's just. I don't know how they jam pack it in.
It's a floral display.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
each of the
Yeah.
women,
In the garden. Club
sorry,
they
each of
did-
the garden club members get a theme. And they design a room around. A Christmas event, so somebody designs a dining room table Christmassy, a living room around Christmas. And then everybody sells everything, yeah.
Gotcha.
I wonder if the cultural center will be doing something. Too.
This is at.
It's at-
It's at the
Yeah.
cultural
You know,
center.
like selling food and stuff like that, I just.
I can find out.
I didn't see mention of that,
Right.
but they are sharing the proceeds of the ticket sales.
I think the questions that should be the same. Without the money, would you be able to put this on? I think obviously the answer is we do know that.
Yes.
With this money, what other,
Well,
what are you able to do that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do?
That's,
That's probably a good question for this one, right?
Well, they said
Or
that
for
they
every-
requested
that's a good
funds
question for
specifically to
everybody.
Market off Cape More. And I'm not saying that's a specific answer.
Right.
I'm just saying that
Yeah, that's what
they did actually say something because
They
most
said, yeah.
applications didn't even have that
Okay,
sentence.
so that's very interesting. With that being said, and I told you that I have never seen it not
right, can
have.
they handle?
How many more people can you actually
15 to 20%
get through
Right.
there?
I'm sorry, dates are what?
Dates are
Yeah, we see
November 21.
They're only spending 35,000 in their total budget, but they're making $51,000. Asking.
So it's Thanksgiving Day?
in 2024.
I think that's what she was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Confusing me too. But
So we want to ask that question.
just the week of.
So the question, just for the garden club,
It's the week after, 'cause it's the week
is,
Like,
no, please repeat what the question was. It's faster.
oh,
Oh, wait, wait,
Can they do this with something less than?
Yeah, would you,
right. Well, and that,
would you be able to?
They're not
conduct
gonna
this
answer
event
that
without
question, nor
this
should they
funding?
be required to answer that.
And then
Yeah.
what is with this funding, what is the,
oh, what's
else
the,
are you
what's the
able to do?
margin that you're buying? That's
What are
the,
you
yeah,
Did they ask if the venue can hold an increase in people?
yeah. That's probably not.
Right, that's what we're
That's the
saying.
thing.
If there
I
was a
gotta tell you,
venue-
the parking lot
well, because if
is
you're too
unsafe.
crowded.
You can't park there, that they use.
So do you want to ask about parking?
Gonna have to.
If they're gonna, isn't the parking gonna
Over
get
at
lost
the-
because of the bridge project? They're gonna spend a bunch of the parking over there, so parking's gonna be worse.
Mm.
But the bridge-
Yeah, so there's three places. They park behind the library, they park at the packets, and then they park at the other side of the library.
Mhm.
So, I just. I see.
We had the Family Table Collaborative,
Right.
the bank. Waste
Do they
area.
use a detail at all? Do they need it
I've never
for
seen one.
road crossing or?
It said 0.
Ladies on a trolley and shuttle them down there.
Well, you could.
I'll go.
And the
You drive the
guys.
shuttle?
Mhm.
Okay, we done with
Yes.
Garden Club of Hyannis?
Yeah.
Of Hyannis.
Okay, what's the name?
Hyannis. Oops, that's the wrong directory. Sorry. Cultural Center. So in my one, can I ask a question, Steve? My one question is about the overlap between the Cultural Center and the Garden Club, because it sounded to me in the application from the Garden Club that the Garden Club's relying on the Cultural Center to do the marketing, but we're paying the Cultural Center for marketing. So kind of, I don't know how we can,
Who's up first?
yeah. It's kind of, I think the question is there a duplication here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a specific question that we could ask both entities, if you agree.
And what events are they talking about?
They have
63
63
concerts,
concerts,
575 opportunities, they called them.
1,500 events.
Once again.
And they do, I will say, they do answer. Suppose there's less event revenue support than expected. In that case, we tailor future programming accordingly. Still, our mission is to be accessible, democratic,
Mhm.
and welcoming to the artists, whether established or emerging, regardless of the size. So they've at least answered one question for us off the bat. Can you do this without funding?
And I would disclose, I'm one of the founding members.
Of the
I'm no
cultural
longer a
center?
member, but I gave them a ton of money in the beginning.
Yeah, while we're at it, I'm working
Disclosing
for
it.
them.
You know what?
I'm working for them.
So we have two
Always on my
abstentions.
There was
Oh,
two abstentions.
Two extensions.
You have to leave the room.
Yeah.
You want discussion.
No, I don't, I just have to disclose, I have no relationship with him now,
I
but
may want to
it's Joe needs
disclose.
to figure that out for himself.
Oh, yeah.
With-
Special little thing.
Really?
With also.
You can recuse yourself.
Suggestion. It's up to you.
It's,
You're asking me to leave?
no, it's very simple. You just call the ethics, you just call the ethics commission and explain to them exactly your position and they will give you
And
guidance.
they're basically like, don't open your
Easy,
mouth, they see
easy.
it.
They don't record it. They don't, it's not public information.
Exactly.
Karen's gonna help me.
All right.
The other, yeah,
It's
yes.
easy.
Who's the last one?
Last one is,
It's
it's,
it's wicked.
Hot
Podstock.
stuff.
Because of the light.
Sounds
Oh.
fabulous.
And you know what it is,
This
it's
is
after
exciting.
5, so the AC
New
shuts off.
people, new event.
Right, I wish you had a band lineup. I like the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. What else, Meredith?
My one question for them is, do they have a site plan? Have they thought this far ahead? Because they're using town land, they haven't used the town land before, what's it gonna look like? They have to think it through, because if you're gonna give them money, you wanna know
A layout.
what the land
Well,
is.
and Jen and I were like, are they on the beach?
Right,
Parking lot?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
smart.
Yeah.
Good question.
But- um,
Then
I've been to the one in Nauset a couple of times.
The roots, and yeah,
They keep everyone off the beach.
it's all in the park.
in the parking,
All
is that the one with the big bonfire?
Yeah.
Yeah. all in
It's the
parking
most
lot.
amazing bonfire.
Power? Things to.
well, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Or
there's-
generator.
There's that concession stand there that's fully lit up with
Mhm.
power and water and bathrooms and all that
Baths out
stuff.
here, yeah.
Yeah, and they,
Absolutely.
yeah, and they do, the one for the Nauset one, they pay to have people, you can park at any of the elementary schools and they'll bus you over
Yeah,
to and
right.
from the school.
That's what I
So
did.
if it's taking place in the full parking lot, I'd imagine they'd have everybody park at DY or the middle school.
Right.
And they would pay, I would imagine they'd
Mhm.
have people take bus over there.
And again, we don't know.
How did, where
So-
they get the
Right.
buses from, you know,
The school,
the school,
it was all big yellow school buses.
okay, all right,
So
because we have the RTA. there.
what assurances would we have that they would stay in Yarmouth if it was successful?
Well, they
Good
wanted, I
question.
think they wanted to go to the drive-in, but the drive-in's not gonna be
Well,
ready.
that's my question.
So this is a proof of concept, I think, for the driveway. I mean, the drive-in, excuse me.
But is that, and Maria, I think that's a good question. Is it a good question for everybody though?
It's a great question for everybody, except for the fact that you kind of already have a track record, like why where are they gonna go? But,
Well-
you know what I'm saying?
Right,
But I think it is a,
Yeah.
for a new, for certainly.
interesting.
Even
It's-
the
it
pirate
is-
festival is a really.
It's a good
Mhm.
question for sure. I think when they're looking at, I mean, like Joe said, like the one at Nauset, that one just, it's coming back for the first year in years, but there's not another beach jam concert series up this way. And I think when people are looking at that
Mhm.
and hosting events in their own backyard, they're looking at that.
And
They're like,
it's
hey,
still
nothing's happening
nice
in my
out.
town and I have to keep driving to these other towns to have fun and do things I want to do. Why can't I make it happen
But
here?
I wouldn't want our neighboring towns to say, we'll sweeten the pie for you, you know?
I think that would, well,
but
then I
how-
think that would be up to them. And if they really love Yarmouth, I think then they would do what they could to say.
How are we gonna mitigate that? They can't.
And is that really
That's
happening
That's-
now? Is
that's
that
the
happening
next
now
year's
though?
Program that you have a
I-
clawback, but that's. not
I just don't think that's
true.
totally happening now though, because I think some of these other applicants would have had their pot sweetened by other places and it would have gone. So I think it's totally a fair question, but I think hindsight's 20/20.
I think. Steve, I think Mary may have had a question.
Mary, did you have a question?
I could be wrong.
No, I'm just curious. So I think about anytime you have an outdoor event,
Mhm.
right? If it rains, bad weather. You know, they're projecting $70,000 in ticket sales. I thought
It's a
that
lot of
was
ticket
pretty heavy.
sales.
I'd be interested to see, I don't know, that's on your question. What's the?
Tickets are $45 for the Nauset one.
Yeah.
It's-
Are you
it's-
really?
So,
Yeah.
wow.
But there's 4 food trucks. You see G Love in the special sauce. Two
Wow.
other big names. You get busted
Really?
from and there's food and beer and wine. It's huge.
When
It
is
is, it's coming up.
They
Clickety
put the
click, click,
stage at
click.
the far end of the Nauset parking lot.
Yeah.
The whole rest of the parking lot is full of people.
It's fun.
And food trucks down the side.
To 20, eight.
I like G Love.
Yeah,
It's October 7th.
Okay,
so that's, you know,
but
Outermost.
those little things. Um, 60,000 in entertainment, so they must, I think they use from morning till night. Is that-
No, like the Roots and Blues one, I think
The
goes from
concert.
12 to 6, 12 to, it's like the end of, it's a half a day thing. It's not.
So we can ask them
What's the timeline?
What's the timeline is.
Mhm.
That's a good
What's the
question.
schedule?
Yeah,
So,
schedule of events.
The parking, I'm sorry, man.
So the 60 grand for entertainment must probably be the sound system, the stage. I'm assuming it's a lot of money for,
Lights.
I think it's a question to ask what that includes, because it
Yep.
might be both if they're doing like
and then
smaller local
the
groups.
same thing, you know, $5,000 for the setup and cleanup, if they could define that. I don't see any money for porta potties.
Because that's,
There's no funding in here for
Yeah.
trash pickup.
And-
Equipment rentals 15,000. I'm just wondering if that's tents, et
Yeah.
cetera.
There could be.
That could be porta
Ye-
potties
ye-
too.
Just
Yeah.
define it.
Yeah.
And-
And then, you know, there's 10,000 in salaries.
what they might benefit from is a kind of like we've done with Ragnar or whatever, big events that they come in for a kind of site plan review, because the bathroom question and how many toilets you have is, it's up to the Board of Health.
Mhm.
And how are you gonna keep people off the
Right.
beach?
Yeah.
I think I read it was
But you know what?
3,000 people, right? Is what they were looking at.
I
So-
think though the thing on the beach, I went on the beach to listen to music, but you were not allowed to walk on with your alcohol. You were not allowed to walk on and do anything bad. People really enjoyed leaving the crowds in the
Right.
parking lot and laying on the beach to hear the music.
And I think the beach is fine. I think it's like the dune. You don't want
Yes,
people in
we
the
don't do-
dunes. Stay out of
And
the
if-
protected
Yeah,
resources.
we're gonna
Having
need
some
eyes on,
variance
I
and
mean,
on
my
alcohol.
point is we're gonna need eyes on the beach,
Mhm.
right? So that decreases
Yeah.
the securable area by, it doubles it.
I just don't know that you're gonna get that so like, just thinking ahead, when you review it, you know, your funding in this case, say you want to move forward with funding it, it could be contingent on certain things.
Well, you're right.
And that's how you're gonna have to
Meet
think.
with them first, because it is a bigger thing, kind of give them lay of the land, certain things about bathrooms and that's a good idea.
I mean, I'm happy to reach out to them
Yeah.
and make that suggestion.
Well, I mean, that's a very good point, because the vetting of these fees, when you have alcohol sales, right? You just, doesn't seem to, like, there's no alcohol.
You pay,
it's-
no, the alcohol's paid for, it's separate. from the-
I understand that, but the detail, the police and fire detail, actually, it's not even in here.
Yeah, let's-
Fire, admin, nothing, fire detail, nothing, no fire, police detail, 6,000,
But they also
So
have
there's-
security for 5.
their own.
Yep.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Yep. Well, so I
That's
think,
try to protect
so I think it's,
equipment.
well, so that's the sort of the contingency sort of question. You know, have you vetted?
Well, I-
You know, and that's actually a really good question for all of us, right? How do we know that these police and fire, and I shouldn't say just police and fire, because I love my police and fire. The town administrator fees are really accurate.
That's what I had said earlier,
She
was
said-
that we need
Right.
to get the information from our end, not from their end.
right.
Something
Yeah.
$45,000, $6,000 for police.
Yeah. 6.
Not
The
only
40
that.
Yeah.
We can get the
All
de-
you're paying outside
we'll get the
security
detail
companies.
information.
Right.
Karen's gonna get it.
I can get the detailed information.
Mhm.
I don't think that'll be a problem. Never know.
No, well,
I don't think
well,
it will be.
Precisely because, you know,
Right.
for a new event,
But-
right, what is their guidepost? Is it other events?
Right.
What's the formula?
That's,
It would be nice.
and I don't know what experience they have with other events. Is this the first time?
So that was
And-
my question
yeah.
to Karen earlier today. What's their event experience?
That's a good one.
Have they secured use of the property from both the town and the state?
No.
I remember that whole
Not,
boat
I
ramp-
can't
that
speak for the state, but
whole- The boat ramp area is all under state.
that's right.
So just.
Yeah,
so-
public access.
Yep,
board control,
public
they
access
grant
board.
Funded it, so any use of that whole second section is.
Or you
Or
don't
they
use it,
if they don't- yeah.
or you don't use it.
But that's a good thing to know
Yes.
about that.
You cannot close that.
Right.
Do they have like?
No, but you don't
do
have
they
to necessarily like, if they don't stage in that area, then they're not really
Right, but the
using
boat
it.
ramp still
Right.
needs to stay open. is
Right,
usually
so,
what they-
so, yeah, I think that's a,
But is that not, like, have they considered they're only gonna use that other section of the like, I guess I have some logistics questions as
Yeah.
to.
I would also ask, I mean, what date, they just have the one date in, right? They don't need the night before put that up and keeping,
Well, they're gonna have to.
like that.
October 19th and 20th.
So what about, okay,
The 18th. I
Is it
imagine.
night?
This liquor sales are gonna have to put up some sort of fence and have a controlled area.
Yep.
So.
I
that
mean,
may be why they
It's a
don't-
big, it's a big event. It's a
if
big
anybody
to-do.
has time on October 7th, go to the outermost at Nauset and you will see, I think, what these people are envisioning. There's,
Exactly.
it's, you are literally, you cannot drive out on your own. You cannot go in on your own. You are bused to and from, and you can walk around, but in the perimeter, there's a beer tent, and then there's food trucks, and then there's the staging area, but there is like a full perimeter around where you are, and you are not to leave with your alcohol out of that fence
Mhm.
And you have-
area, but it's not like
Yeah.
you're constricted to a beer garden. You have a
Is it-
bracelet.
Is it
Yeah.
age restricted?
No, it's a family friendly event, but like you get
Okay.
ID for your bracelet,
Yeah.
all that stuff. They have, yeah. And they made it really, I mean, what you find when you go is all the families are kind of set up in the back under the
Right.
tent, and everybody who's there to jam and listen to G Love is up front doing their thing. But I was super impressed when I went
In the back.
The,
with his earbuds on. It's like, oh my ears.
the,
Too loud.
He's got big.
Dora Barnstable does something very similar to that.
Yeah,
They have a little area where you go in if you want your beer and your food, you cannot leave that area. They will not let you out.
Yep.
Outside the area, all the bikes are set up.
and you had to buy, yeah, you had like a bracelet, and then you also had to buy tickets
Yeah.
for what you wanted,
But
like
they do have experience doing that because they're doing this up in Main Street.
the beer garden.
Yeah. I'm sure they must have talked to some
I
of the
don't-
other folks. So we got a lot of
No,
questions.
I want to know if
Yeah.
we get free popcorn with entry.
Yeah,
Must
the
be
$50.
A big bag of popcorn.
If I'll buy a ticket, I want some popcorn.
All right.
Yeah, cotton candy, if it is the same. And
Yeah.
will there be a greased pole on? the-
Oh, jeez. We get that grease pole in there.
One of those like ones up in Gloucester.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, the thing is that.
Sides get so close to the top and they just come crashing.
Camera.
Productive.
And
All right.
that's probably why there's so many EMTs there.
Here, thank you.
Thanks for being here, Mary.
Karen, side question. If we, I don't know if we can find this out, so if we allocate money to one of these events that doesn't end up occurring. For some reason. Can we then go back? Do we have to like, if we wanted to then go back and revisit some of these to give additional funding to? is that
That's a
whole
good
new
question, Joe.
process?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I don't know. That's a good
But
question.
we're not gonna give any recommendations on money until they answer that question.
Well, right, but even, so I mean, there's a couple that don't have venues right now, so even if they say that they're 90% secure and we go with that, and for whatever reason, that 10% comes through and
They fall through.
it falls through, so 6 months from now, whatever. Because we are doing this process very early this year compared to the past, so would we be able to reallocate, I mean, granted, maybe we don't want to, but what, would we have to do another RFP, or could we go back and revisit and reallocate things?
That's a good question.
No.
It's a good question. I'm
No.
inclined to think not,
Yeah.
but
If it's the same, are they the
Yeah.
same applicants?
Right, the same, I'm saying like the same group of people.
you're saying, so if we have 3 events and one of them doesn't happen, can we take the money from the event that didn't happen and reassign it to the other 2?
I think you can.
Split it up into eighths and give it out.
See the 140.
Or
other
anything, yeah, like,
events.
let's be right.
Could we revisit it, I guess, without maybe going through the whole RFP
You would
process?
have to
Yeah.
make,
Thank you, Mary.
you would have to make
Thanks,
a
Mary.
vote that left the door open for amendment and the reasons why.
Well, I mean, what happens,
Once
like,
you-
it's the
once
same
you
thing of like,
allocate it.
they're on a reimbursement basis, right? So like, they don't happen, they don't get reimbursed.
Right, and that just goes into the till
So then
next
like,
year.
for, yeah,
I'm saying though, if we,
for
We
this
could-
year,
he's just
Right.
saying, can you just,
reallocate of people, yeah.
and maybe Steve is right. I think it would take another vote.
like a supplemental, like,
Yeah.
Something.
can we take remaining funds within the year and do supplemental?
Awards. You stay in the
I don't know, I didn't know if there's a legal question to that, but
Okay.
maybe, not that I want to see anything fall through.
No, I can look into that.
Exactly.
I'm happy to look into it.
For that
Was,
utilization
Steve, I
of
don't think
funds.
there was a
There's
second.
no end date on it.
Maria made the motion to
We have a
adjourn.
No,
We have a second?
sure, it's like.
We have a second. All those in
we're all
favor?
done
We
discussing.
gotta do a roll call. Joe?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Hey.
6
good
of
job. Good meeting. Thank you.
Anything else on the
Smile.
No? That's it?